Hi, I'm Dr. Rahman, and I often get asked if I still deliver babies, and the answer is no. Um, when I delivered babies, the expectation was that when a woman came for prenatal care, it was expected that I would be the one delivering her baby. And it was also expected that at the 6-week postpartum visit, she would bring me a picture of the baby that I would then put on my bulletin board. Um, it was a relationship, it was a journey that the two of us would embark on together. And during that months of prenatal visits, she would get to know me, I would get to know her. There would be a understanding established between the two of us. And so it turned out to be very impactful, and I carry memories of a number of deliveries, and I have the honor of even having some babies named after me. But there is one delivery that I don't think I'll ever forget, and I just like to share that with you. This was not her first pregnancy, it was her second pregnancy, and her first pregnancy had been an uneventful vaginal delivery, and she came for her second pregnancy and really didn't have any problems, and she was very pleasant. And though you like all your patients and you want all your patients to like you, I had a special affinity for her. She would come to her prenatal visits sometimes with her little girl, and I just enjoyed having her as a patient. And we were now at about 36 weeks, and she was at the point where she was coming every week for her prenatal visit. And this particular visit, she brought her husband because he had never heard the baby's heartbeat. And so she was very excited to share that moment with him. And so we go through our pleasantries and introductions, and we're in the exam room, and I do the Leopold maneuvers, and I can tell where the back of the fetus is, and I can feel that the head is starting to engage into the pelvis. And I put the Doppler where I suspect the heartbeat to be, and I don't hear anything. And so I move it to the other side, and I wait, and I don't hear anything. And I look at her, and she's totally oblivious. She's happy, she's smiling, she's talking to her husband, and I'm starting to feel dread in my heart. So I move the transducer various spots, and I hear nothing. And then I go out, and I come back into the exam room, and I have the ultrasound with me. And I put the ultrasound, I can see I can see the skeleton of the baby, and I put the Doppler, the ultrasound probe right over the heart, and I look at the heart, and there's no heartbeat. And I look at her, and I look at her husband, and they're so happy. And I start to say something like, I have the transducer over the baby's heart, and I don't see a heartbeat. And she looks at me, trying to understand what it is that I'm saying to her, because at this point, it's just inconceivable that her baby might be dead. And slowly it starts to dawn on her what I've said, and she breaks down and she's crying. And her husband starts to console her, and even though this is a very painful moment, it's just a beautiful thing to see the two of them comforting each other. And so moments go by, and I let this unpleasant reality kind of sink in. And then the next question is, what do we do? What do we do about it? And I have to basically tell her that I'm going to send you to labor and delivery. I'm going to induce your labor. You're going to go through a whole labor process, and you're going to deliver a dead baby. And she understands that, and we put everything into motion, and she goes to labor and delivery with her husband, and she's in labor and delivery, but she's in a room down the hall, and there's no fetal monitor in the room because there's no need for a fetal monitor, and her labor's induced, and she starts contracting, and she's just whimpering at this point. She's not crying, she's just whimpering, and she's just very sad. And I'm staying in the room, and I am personally feeling horrible. I'm asking myself, what did I do wrong? What did I miss? And I'm not seeing anything, but that's not bringing me any satisfaction, because their pain is so real. Their pain is so palpable, and she's whimpering, but she's progressing in labor. And finally, it's time to deliver this baby. And there's nothing that I can think of that's more unpleasant than delivering a dead baby. There's just no life there. It's limp. It's not a pleasant thing to do. And so the baby gets delivered, and at that moment, you don't know if she wants or she's prepared to see the baby. And so I start to say, it's a normal appearing baby, and the baby has 10 fingers and 10 toes, and we're going to wrap the baby up, and if you want to hold the baby, by all means, you can hold the baby. And so we deliver the baby, we deliver the placenta, she's fine, and we wrap the baby up, and she's just been crying through this whole process. And finally the dad asks to hold the baby, and so we give the baby to the dad. And at this moment, he just breaks down. He literally breaks down. He had been her rock, and he had been comforting her the entire time. And when he had the baby in his arms, he just broke down and cried. And there only been a few times in my life that I've seen a man break down like that, to the point where she actually stops crying and she starts comforting her husband. And again, it was horrible situation, but there was something very loving and beautiful in this moment. And so she starts comforting him, and everything else is relatively uneventful, and she gets discharged after a day or so. And then weeks later, I see her back in the office, and I say to her, I've looked at your chart 1,000 times, and I don't see where any mistake was made, and I don't see where anything different should have happened. But if you never want to come back to this office, I totally understand. And I don't remember her saying anything in that moment, and that's kind of how it ended. But what happened is, months later, she became pregnant again, and she decided to come back for prenatal care. And for me, that was such a a gift. She gave me a vote of confidence when I needed it, which she did was very gracious. And we went through another pregnancy, and we had a viable, uncomplicated delivery, and everything went well. And it was the kind of delivery that you would want to have. And it was a beautiful experience. But I will always be indebted to her for her vote of confidence in me. And that's the kind of experience, and those are the kind of relationships, and those are the memories that I carry with me to this day.